Hey guys, so in this video we're going to be learning how to create a text field where you can type anything you want and the DOM is going to automatically update as you do so. And to do that in React, the approach is a little bit different than the conventional vanilla JavaScript approach. So in vanilla JavaScript we used to do something like this. We used to create the input first. So this is a React project, so it's not going to accept it, so I'm just demonstrating. So you create an input, you give it an ID or a class, and then you try to grab that element by creating a constant, and you give it a name, and then you just say document dot get element by ID or something like that, and then you just give it the ID, which is whatever. Let's say that the ID is A. Okay. And then you get, for example, the value. So as far as I remember, it was like something like this. It was the value of that field. So this input is gonna be assigned to the value of that input, which is this input here. And this was the old school JavaScript way. And with React, in order for you to create something that is dynamic, you have to kind of change your approach. So when I first started out, it was kind of confusing for me because I didn't really know how to create that similar thing or that same thing by using the state and using elements and stuff like that. And it's actually pretty simple. All you need to do is you have this render here, and whatever here within this render is going to be shown on here, okay? So on your screen. So you just include that input field, which I did here, okay? And this is, of course, a JSX syntax. So you just give it a placeholder and you give it an onChange, just like you would do with vanilla JavaScript. And of course, in vanilla JavaScript, you would have to create a function in your JavaScript folder, and then you call that function inside your HTML. So this is, let's assume that this is the HTML. So you had to call your function on the onChange in your HTML in order for it to work. So you can do whatever you want with that value that you have put in your input field. And with React, it's a little bit different. So the creation is almost the same. You just give it, you just create an input, but you create it within the render so that it shows up, and you give it a function. But this syntax is a little bit weird, right? So actually it is just a function, and to prove that, we have it here. So I just created a function called onInput, and this is not necessary really, so I'm just going to remove it. And what I'm doing, so basically what I'm doing here is that I'm setting the state. Okay, so I'm calling this the state, and I'm setting the state of the text, which is up here, to whatever the value of the target, and the target is the thing that I am using the function on. So in this case, it is the input field. If I use it on a button, the target is going to be the button. So the target in our case here is the input field. So I'm just saying the event.target. So I'm accessing the target that triggered this event, and I'm then accessing the value. And this is what you see being console logged in my console. So if you go back here and you refresh, okay, so whatever I'm going to be typing here, so let's say some text, you can see it's console logged here, and that is the value of the input field, okay, and this is exactly this one here. And this.setState is calling or pushing the information that we have here up to this state. And whenever this changes, whenever anything in the state changes, whether it was like text or a counter or whatever value we have, it's going to run automatically the render, and the render is going to update based on what we have. So you can see here that I have the p tag here, and the p tag, and just before the p tag, I access this function by just calling this.input. Okay, so I just have the name of the function, and I would put this before it. So this.input, I would access this function, and this is how things work in React. So you just have to get used to it, because when I first started out, it was really confusing for me, even though I saw people creating such things. But it was not until I created it myself that I, understood it better than I would ever would. Okay, so yeah, so now we go back to this p tag. So as we said, we are passing this function here, which is onChange being called. So it's being called anytime this input field changes, and basically it is calling this state, and it is pushing whatever values we have in our input field up into the state. And when the state updates, it automatically runs the render, and the render is going to update whatever things that need to be updated. And in our case, this .text, okay, this .state.text is what changed up top, okay? So as long as we have an element that has the this.state.text and the text in the state is updated, then I'm going to have to update this element accordingly. So the state updates, runs render, and then it sees that I have something to do with the updated value, which is the text. So it's going to re-render the p tag here. And the p tag is basically what you see here. This is the p tag that I created. Okay, and when I refresh, you're not going to be able to see it because I have nothing, it's empty. And when I start typing, it shows up. And if I delete, it goes away again, and it's because it is empty, it doesn't exist. So React just removes it for you. So yeah, here it is. This is how you approach creating, or this is how you create an app that responds to an events by the user. If you have used vanilla JavaScript before, then this is different. It requires several steps. So you have to create a function, and then you have to pass it as an argument, which you have done in your normal vanilla JavaScript. But then you have to set the state within this function here, okay? And then you have to render that element that is changed into your render function. So this is the tricky part, okay? Everything up until creating this function and passing it into here is the same. The only difference is that within that function you have to update the state, and the state, when it updates in return, updates the DOM, and it's going to see what changed. So if I had, for example, the counter value instead here, it's not going to do anything. I have it here, but it does not update. And since it's not being updated, it's not going to change anything in the DOM. But because I am updating the text, and the text exists here, so I need to update the DOM so that it matches what I have in my state here. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. See you in the next one.